Joe
right.
Torre, the one and only. Joe, do we
Guys,
have you?
how are you?
Joe, how are you? It's great to
Fantastic.
hear your voice, Joe.
Pete Hoffman, our producer, just celebrated like he just won Game 7 of the NBA
Yes,
Finals.
we were having technical issues here at the station. It's good to hear from you, Joe. We'll get into into the charity event next week, which is amazingly enough 19th year you've been having this event at Sleepy Hollow. Correct, Joe?
Yeah, it's been 19 years, and it's been, very rewarding that people continue to come out and continue to support us, just like you guys over at the fan. You guys have been so loyal, and we appreciate this time you're giving us.
No doubt about it. Happy to do it and so thrilled to talk with you. And we'll get more into the event in just a moment. But I think Yankee fans, Joe, I mean, they're kind of pulling their hair out right now, whatever's left of it after watching that first half of Yankee baseball. You watch the Yankees. What do you see is missing from this team right now?
Well, it's obviously not running like you'd like it to. Chapman's had his issues. He has too good of stuff to, continue along that road. But the one thing that really keeps coming back and you lose sight of, because the expectations are always high, with the Yankees. I remember we played the Mets in 2000 in the World Series. Mets may have been a better team, but that didn't matter because, of course, George was still with us at that time. The expectations are sky high, and I think players put a lot of pressure on themselves. I really do. It sounds like a simplistic response to the question, but human beings still play this game in spite of the analytics.
Yeah, they do. And Joe, it frustrates me. I think there's got to be a balance here. When you look at analytics in baseball, I get the way of grading out players and looking at finding ways to win games, maybe for teams that can't spend a ton of money. Like you look at the Tampa Bay Rays, they do an unbelievable job. But, you famously in your book said, there's a heartbeat to this game. I mean, there's got to be a proper balance when looking at a team, and it can't just be purely from an analytical standpoint.
No, Moose. I mean, you're 100% right. I know when I was, doing more work with MLB, I'd meet with the managers every spring. And the one thing I would tell them, and I know which direction we're going with the analytics, but don't ever lose sight of the fact that you have experience and you have just the instincts being around baseball for a period of time, and you can't let that, not be a part of what you do. But it just feels like they're trying to make this a video game, and it doesn't work. Just because something wasn't supposed to happen doesn't mean it won't happen. I mean, our game it's not perfect, but at times it feels like it's perfect. But you have to let the people play. And, especially with the pitchers, guys, you have young pitchers that you really never learn a whole lot about and until you let them get in trouble and get out of trouble instead of trying to keep them from getting into trouble. I think players develop by experiencing on the field, whether it be positive or negative. They still have to feel it.
Joe Torre is our guest. And, Joe, he's not a young pitcher, but you mentioned about Chapman. You think that his stuff is just too good. But, I mean, what do you do with Aroldis Chapman? If you were managing this team, how would you approach it? Because I can't help but think, and I know obviously he wasn't a pitcher, but for Chuck Knobloch, like that, there's an element of the yips here with Aroldis Chapman, at least part of it.
Well, and, Knobloch, you're talking about Chuck. I mean, he was frustrated and he didn't know what to do. And, you basically have to talk him off the ledge. And, because our game is, it doesn't slow down for you. You've got to play it and you've just got to, try to control yourself. And, obviously Booney was, not obviously, but it looked like he was going to, go to him for the last out in Houston. And, Garrett wasn't going to have any part of that, which is all well and good. I mean, Andy Pettitte was the same type of personality. And, you've got to keep going back to him because it's there. And you don't want to have them have the feel that, you've lost confidence, even though it's been a little shaky lately.
Yankees Red Sox, Joe, it gets going tonight at Yankee Stadium, and the Yankees got to get going here. 11 of the next 13 against the Sox and the Rays. But for you, being a massive part of this rivalry, what does Yankees Sox mean to you?
Oh, it just was exhausting. we would, I grew up when we had three teams here in the New York area, and I was a Giant fan, which living in Brooklyn was dangerous. But, you thought that competition, and of course I played with the Cardinals, and you thought that the Cardinal Cub thing was extraordinary. And then you take part in the Red Sox Yankees thing, and I've never had anything that was as exhausting as that series was. You'd play, 17, 18, 19 times. After each series, either I'd call Terry Francona or he would call me and would say, boy, I'm glad this crap is over for another month or 5 weeks. It's really, it's an adrenaline for the fans. There's no question about it. I came down. If you got a minute for the story,
yeah.
I came down in the elevator. We were in Boston. This was during the season. It wasn't even a postseason game. And I'm riding the elevator down. This couple gets on, and the guy looks at me. He says, "You're Joe Torre." I said, "Yeah, I am." He says, "We're going to beat you tonight." I said, "Well, I hope not." I said, "But if you do, you do." And I know something else is going to come on the way down to the lobby. And he finally says to me, he says, if I had a choice of beating the Yankees or capturing Saddam Hussein, I'd pick beating the Yankees.
Oh, jeez.
And yeah, it's you can't reach too far to figure, to tell stories about what goes on with that rivalry. It's crazy.
Man, that's nuts. Joe Torre is our guest. We're going to talk more about the 19th annual Joe Torre Safe at Home Golf and Tennis Tournament event. It's going on a week from today, Sleepy Hollow Country Club. You mentioned that you keep in touch with managers and, Aaron Boone, this has been difficult, the chance of Fire Boone, raining down on him at the stadium and fans are frustrated. They're out for blood right now. What would be your advice to Boone in getting through this stretch?
Well, obviously you've got a job at hand and you got to make sure you do your job. I think that's the toughest thing, because I did the best I could, not to listen to the radio or read the newspapers when we had them at the time I managed, and just make sure that you realize that the only thing that's important is going into that clubhouse and getting those guys ready to play, and they have to trust their ability. But it's crazy, of course, what's happened here in the early going with the Red Sox and Yankees back and forth, where the Red Sox just basically manhandled them. But at some point it's going to turn. Again, am I going to give you chapter and verse on how it's going to happen? No, but a well-pitched game is usually what'll get you started. That's the one thing about this game. Good pitching will stop good hitting, and it only takes a game to turn the momentum around.
Joe, you're a special assistant to the commissioner. We spent a lot of time talking about, the ills of Major League Baseball, right? And, Commissioner Manfred, before the All-Star game, talking about the extra inning rule and all likelihood will go away. The 7-inning doubleheaders next year will go away, that those were COVID rules. Joe, from, your experience looking at where the game is right now, you like the direction of where baseball is going?
Well, obviously, we put those COVID rules in. And in fact, when we had the tie game and an all-star game a number of years ago, I mentioned to Bud Selig about the man at second base and extra innings. My preference, I don't mind the man at second base, but I'd like to see it be in the 12th or 13th inning. And the reason I even had that idea is because when you sit on the bench as a manager and you watch every single player go up there and there's extra inning games and tries to hit a home run, it's frustrating. And, you keep baseball in play when you have to make a decision on bunting or hitting the guy, getting the guy over, or just trying to knock him in. 7-inning doubleheader was a great idea last year, and the owners and evidently the Players Association, has gone along with it. That works. I was a little surprised that stayed, but again, it's something that was a carryover. It was going to continue to be part of the game. I don't know. I think the man at second base, it looks like just for the fact that you preserve pitchers and you don't play those games where you got all of a sudden start a shuttle back and forth to the minor leagues to fill in the gaps because you've used everybody. And I don't think anybody wants to see a player be the pitcher and decide the game.
No.
And that's what we wind up having to happen when you get into those 17, 18 inning games.
Yeah, the novelty of it wears off
No
really,
doubt.
really fast. Just a few more minutes here with Joe Torre, and we always appreciate you carving out time for us, Joe. We really do. Back to the Yankees for just one moment. Knowing Brian Cashman the way that you do, if the team does not make the playoffs this year, how do you think he would respond?
Well, I'm sure Brian will feel he needs to do something different. I think and I have not talked to Cash lately, but he still has confidence in this team, and I can understand it when you go and look down the line and the ability of the players. You put them there, and it's 162 games, and I know it's the second half, and everybody gets a little more uptight in the second half, but there's still a lot of baseball left, and it doesn't take much to turn it around. But the pitching is the concern. If you can't consistently give yourself a chance to win by going out there and pitching consistently, then all of a sudden the players get a little shaky because now they feel they have to score a ton of runs. So, but I think Cash, is not looking toward the end of the year, and if this happens or that happens, it's going to happen for him to decide that this is what changes have to be made.
Joe, has it surprised you because you were there, with George and everything, right? Has it surprised you that the expectations or what the Yankees deem as a successful or unsuccessful year has kind of really changed here over the course of time? Hope for the best in the postseason when it used to be, well, we don't win the World Series, it's a failure.
Yeah, well, that's what it became with us, and you can understand it because we strung together some pretty special years.
No doubt.
After we lost in 2001 in the ninth inning, I was signing autographs the following spring in Tampa, and a fan came down and got an autograph, and he says, "You'll do better this year." Now, what? We get the ninth inning. We had a 1-run lead in the ninth inning of Game 7. And I said, "Yeah." I said, "I think we're all spoiled," but it was a nice spoil, and as I said, I had a good group that never got tired of winning.
Joe Torre is our guest, and of course, you have your annual golf and tennis tournament. The event is happening Thursday, July 22nd. So that's a week from today. Sleepy Hollow Country Club. You got a limited number of foursomes available. Guests can enjoy the golf. Your own ball format, breakfast before tee off, lunch. You can do tennis. All the proceeds will benefit Safe at Home programs, which provide critical services to youth impacted by violence and abuse. Anyone can go to joetorre.org. And Joe, we understand it's your birthday this weekend too.
Yeah. I mean, we never celebrated my 80th last year, so I think I'm going to be 81, and then we'll celebrate my 80th at some point. But
I like
yeah,
that.
no, it is. Sunday is my 81st birthday, and the number scares me, but I still feel pretty good.
Yeah, well, happy birthday in advance, Joe. And, you continue to do tremendous work with your foundation, and go to joetorre.org and talk a little bit about the school-based safe room that you've created, Margaret's Place.
Yeah, my mom was there for her 5 kids. I'm the youngest of 5, and she took a lot of abuse from my dad, who was a New York City policeman, who I remember as an 8 or 9-year-old he pulled a revolver out of the drawer to threaten my mom and my sister. And those things leave scars, and they don't go away. And we just put safe rooms. If we're going to end the cycle of domestic violence, we felt we needed it to do it through education. And we know our program works, and we have some kids, because I know if it wasn't for baseball, who knows, where I would have wound up, because you low self-esteem, nervous, all these things were trademarks of me as a young kid. I didn't even go out for my high school baseball team as a freshman because I didn't think I was good enough. So it's something we need. These kids are too important to our future in this world. And I know one thing: if they don't get some guidance and feeling good about themselves when they get through, middle or high school, you're going to have someone that's going to put their arm around one of these youngsters and say, follow me, I'll take care of you. And it's not going to be a very pretty finish. So we just need, and we've had over 100,000 kids come through our program. We reach about 19,000 of them now every year, because we have programs in 4 different states at this point in time. And we're very proud of what we do. And it's very rewarding for me, for a kid, and I'm talking about myself, who never wanted to talk about what went on in my home. Once I realized that my dad, his behavior in the house caused all my ails, and again, it's not like you blame your father, but
right.
At least you give yourself a reason to understand, why you felt the way you do. And as I say, it doesn't go away. So when we first started here, and I started talking to a middle school class and explain, what we did and what my dad was doing, I see a lot of kids shake their heads. In other words, I understand. So we struck a nerve there, and we don't force the kids to talk about it, but the two messages we want to leave with them is the fact that it's not their fault, and they're not the only ones experiencing this. And as I say, it's, we've been very satisfied with the results. Last year was tough with the COVID, and we were able to stay in touch with the kids. Thank goodness for the schools cooperating with us so we can, stay in touch. And we had to take a couple of kids out of a very dangerous situation. So, our counselors do a tremendous job, and I really appreciate what you guys do at the Fan to, continue to give us exposure.
Well, we're happy to do so. It's a great cause. And Joe,
Unbelievable.
it takes so much courage, though, to turn your fear and pain into helping someone else. Where did you find that courage?
Well, believe it or not, it happened late, Maggie. We went through a seminar back in like 1995. Because I never talked about it with my wife. I mean, she knew enough to know that it was a sensitive subject for me. But it was at that seminar that we had a speaker one day, and all of a sudden I had tears in my eyes, realizing that what my dad was doing and the fear that he brought into the household caused these these things I had going on inside me. But baseball, I wish I could say I enjoyed the playing part as much as I should have, because I always felt if I didn't do well, then it was my fault. I mean, everything was my fault if we didn't win a game, and it made for a tough time. And but that's how I really had the freedom to talk about it. In fact, I wanted to scream it from the rooftops once I realized that this stuff is happening to other kids, and if there was something we could do to help them, it would be an amazing feeling for me to know that we're trying to fix something.
Yeah, and there are 20 existing Margaret Place programs in 4 states, New York, New Jersey, California, Ohio, reaching nearly 19,000 students each and every year. Joe, tremendous work, continued success with it. 19th annual Joe Torre Safe at Home charity tennis and golf tournament, an event next week, Thursday, July 22nd, Sleepy Hollow Country Club. Kind of find all kinds of information. Hop online, joetorre.org. Joe, we appreciate the time this afternoon or this morning. We really do. And good luck with the event and happy birthday on Sunday.
Thank you very much. Thanks for the time, and go get them. I appreciate it.
You got it.
Was that for us or the Yankees or
Yeah,
both?
that's it.
Probably a little more important that the Yankees go get them.
You come up with answers. You never know.
That's
Baseball belongs to the people. That's all I can say. Baseball is a game of life as far as I'm concerned. You play it every single day, and the littlest thing changing just changes the fact that you go out there with a little bit different perspective. So I never tired of hearing opinions. Trust me.
Hey, Joe, here's the deal. Get rid of the Excel spreadsheets, right? Give me Stick Michael on the road analyzing a game. I'll take whatever Stick's logic got. God rest his soul. He was an he let the eyes show the way, Joe.
Moose, you hit it on the button earlier when you said there's a pulse, and we cannot forget that. Our game is imperfect, but it's pretty special.
I got a piece of advice. Move Glaber to second. It's a little more tangible than the pulse and the heartbeat and all that stuff you guys are talking about. Put Glaber at second base. How about that?
Yeah, well, whoever thought that Alex would accept playing third? You never know what can happen.
Yeah, true.
Good point.
Well, Joe, happy birthday on Sunday, and best of luck with the event next week, okay?
Thanks, guys.
You got it. Hop online, find out all your information, joetorre.org.